Okay. Hello, everybody on the internet and also online with me today. And my lovely co-lead, Vanessa, will join us when she can. She's currently busy doing UAT, and we know that UAT can be bumpy at times. So I'm just going to get started with this. So today's session, I will be talking about how to navigate power and politics in project delivery, a survival guide for business analysts. You can tell I got a little bit of help putting that title together because I'm having trouble getting it out. Right. So next slide. As usual, housekeeping items. The meeting will be recorded, edited, and posted on YouTube. So if there's anything that you don't want to be recorded, then come off the video. But it's so lovely to see a lot of smiles that we have here. We do have our own channel, and you can see that it's here. Oh, that number 2 is coming out. There you go. This one. Badass SFBA. That's us. We put up the videos as soon as we can. Put your questions and your comments in chat, and we'll do our best to keep up. I'll do my best to keep up because there's only me today. Don't spam the chat. Raise your hand if you want to speak. So today, I don't have my partner in crime to bounce things over. So I would love to hear from you. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Happy to answer during the session, or we can wait till after as well. Okay, next slide. There you go. This is the agenda for today. I'm going to be delivering the topic. Introductions, hopefully sorry, I'm mixing it up. So first introductions, I'll tell you a little bit more about myself if you don't know. And when Vanessa comes on, hopefully she'll introduce herself as well, but everybody knows Vanessa. I'll talk to you about the topic. We'll do some Q&A, and then there'll be some news. Certification giveaway, because I'm going to have a small quiz at the end. And finally, we usually have our Baba Chit Chat, which is not recorded and is usually pretty fun. Next slide. This is Vanessa. She is currently working on a project. She's independent consultant. She's a champion for business analysts. If you're in the Salesforce ecosystem and this is an area that you want to expand in, she's somebody that you need to follow. And these are all the amazing things that she has been. This is me. I've been in the ecosystem for pretty long, about 30 years. I feel a bit old, so my children say, when you took that picture, was the world in black and white? No, you little charming children. It was not in black and white. I'm not that old, but I have been around for quite a bit in the Microsoft space and in the Salesforce space. I was a functional consultant. I was a BA. I was a solution architect. When I moved over to Salesforce in 2014, I moved over as a project manager. That's kind of like what I'm focusing on now. I've written 3 books: Salesforce Discovery, Successful Salesforce Projects, and Salesforce Consulting 101. So that's kind of me. Right. I am now ready to start my session. Give me a moment to... Right. I use this thing called Mentimeter. I'm just going to pop this here. Okay. And give me a moment. I love Mentimeter. It's a little bit like Kahoot, by the way. Those of you who use Kahoot, those of you who using interactive quiz for participation. And the thing I like about Mentimeter, which is what you're seeing now, is that cost-wise, it works out really well. There's no real cap on the number of audience. So that's all of you. And I will be hoping for some audience participation, which is why I'm using this. Right. So this is a topic that we're going to be talking about, power and politics. Now, we all know it in whatever organizations that we've been in. This is something that we're subjected to, and sometimes we have no say. And that's, people talk about it, but people don't really discuss it, if that makes sense. So this is something that I think it's quite important to discuss, because you need to know how to navigate politics in order to get ahead. So here's the next slide. Can you, right, can you scan? This is a bit for me. Okay, I'm going to put it 6894160. Sorry, it's 1604. There you go. When you hear office politics, what's the first word that comes to mind? So if you can get onto Menti, you'll be able to type in your answer and not, oh, conflict and pain. I don't see a lot of positive feelings in here. Headache, hierarchy, juvenile unfairness, power. It's a lot, right? Game. Do you know how to play the political game? One of the things that I really loved before it wasn't fashionable was the House of Cards. And that actually showed you the game of politics. So by looking at the words that we have here, thank you so much for all of you who are actively participating. Power game, conflict, confusing, drama, they are all things that is out there, but there's no real way of navigating. No one tells us when we finish our studies and we enter the working world. Nobody hands us a manual that says, hey, this is what you need to do when you see these sort of behavior. Sorry, I think my code is incorrect. Can someone put the correct code in there for me? Because we'll be doing quiz later in a minute. Right. So what I'm going to tell you now, very briefly, is a little story. This is my freezer story. Okay, I had a project with a very, very large grocery retailer in the UK, and we had our project sponsor was Business Change, who was director of operations in charge of the customer service, fulfillment, warranty, that sort of division. Now she was at odds with the IT team, and I was coming in as a consultant, sales partner. We came in with our team to do a discovery and also to kind of like look at the implementation and look at the solution that was going to go in. It was an e-commerce implementation. What was really interesting was the two factions was fighting, and we were given opposing instructions by the two departments, one of whom said, we are going to be doing our integration workshop, but we are going to be doing it in the freezer where the IT team could not see us. So it's first time in my life I had to put on a polo coat, that I call it polo coat. I don't know. It's what I would wear if I was going to the Arctic or the Antarctic. So, and we were doing workshop with kind of like pens that kind of didn't work because it was too cold, but we had to do it there so that we can hide it from the IT division. And then when we went back, we had to go back by a secret way at the back. And what this highlighted, and also the other team would tell us things and say, no, don't tell this other team. People were going to be laid off and they didn't want things to be found out. And we found it very difficult to navigate this. What was really obvious was it was a deeply political environment, and there were people who were playing games with each other, and we were the bystanders. But that was a very very interesting display of how a political environment like that could interfere with project delivery. And us coming from the outside, we could see that. And the only thing I can say was that I was so glad that I did not work in that environment, because I think it would have driven me up the wall. Right. So, what is the definition of um, um, politics? And I found a very good definition in the book called The Five Dysfunctions of Teams, somewhere in the back there. Basically, it says politics is when you choose to say things or do things, or omit saying things or doing things that isn't in line with what you actually want or intend, and you're doing that to shape other people's perception of you. So that is, in my head, a definition opposite of integrity. So in my mind, integrity is the alignment of what you think, what you say, and what you do at all times, regardless of who is watching you or what it is, the dilemma that's in front of you. So this is my definition, and it feels very, it's the best definition that I've come across. If you have a better definition, I would love to hear it in the chat. But what I would also love to hear is if you have some stories of project politics. If you can get on Menti and you can put a few one-liner, it will come up on the screen. And what that means is that it will also come up on the recording, because the chat doesn't come up. So if you have some stories, we would love to hear. Politics is something where if you've been in those sort of organizations, you'll see all the words that you described in the beginning in the word cloud. And they're mostly negative because we don't know what the rule book is. Imagine if you were an alien that landed on this planet and was plopped onto a football field or a soccer field or cricket or something, and you see these people doing things and you don't know what they're doing. Someone hands you a rule book and say, hey, look, the purpose of this game is that you've got to get the ball over there in the goal post, and if you do this, you will get a yellow card. If you do that, you'll get a red card. If you got rules. And as an alien, if I looked at the rule book, I might say, oh, you know what? I can learn how to play football or cricket or chess, whatever. The challenge with politics in the workspace is there are no rule books, with the exception of understanding a little bit human behavior. So let's have a look at this. One example, team lead said I was performing fine, but then gave me terrible feedback and rating in my performance review. Yeah, that you can tell that integrity isn't there. There's something else happening there. Why is the behavior coming out like this? Client gatekeeping stakeholders because she's new and wants to establish the relationships for herself. You can see that there is an element of, I want to keep that power. I want to be the only one who can do this, and therefore, maintain my what we call status roles. I've lived through what Bent, I can't see and I can't pronounce it, described in his book, How Big Things Get Done, a strategic misrepresentation for getting projects started, and it's the death of a project every time. Strategic misrepresentation. I love that, and it's very sad because that is very true a lot of the times. If you've worked with a Salesforce partner and you go in and you see many projects, you will see a pattern, and that is a big pattern. Before I go to the next slide, I wrote a little post today, which was, what do you think the difference between influence and manipulation is? So I didn't put that on this interactive slide. So if you can put that in the little chat, that would be great. I would just like to hear some of your opinion. What's the difference between influence and manipulation? So while I'm waiting for you to fill that in, I'm just going to have a look at some of the examples here. Just in general, internal wrangling, ego soothing, work style, strategy, conflict, tough to stay on the same page, need to do workarounds. I love that. That means you know things are not straightforward. Experience politics at the client where there are several teams involved. No one wants to talk during meetings because they don't want to say what needs to be said in front of others. CEO publicly announced updated CPQ on a specific date, and we all had to chase it. Yeah, I could say that's also a part of politics. So let's have a look at this one. Oh, so many stories coming out. 2 different departments. One helps find jobs and one temporarily hires clients. Not all things about the clients need to be shared. There's probably more to it than that. So thank you so much for all these stories. It sounds like all of you, or a lot of you, have experience of political environment. Rohan, the question also, what's the difference between influence and manipulation? So there's a couple of answers on the chat. Liz says, influence is bringing someone around to appreciate your point of view. Manipulating is persuading them to do something they may not want to do. Ooh, I love that, Liz. That's really good. Kanchan says, influence is positive encouragement and support. Manipulations is a blame game. I'm trying to say your name correctly. Is it Sade? Like the singer. Sade says the difference is intention. Influence is the act of guiding or persuading someone openly and ethically while respecting their autonomy. Manipulation is persuading someone through deception, pressure, or emotional control to serve one's own agenda. I love that. That is really quite close to what I'm thinking about. Sri says mutually beneficial outcome. Influence while self-serving outcomes is manipulation. Not quite. Laurie says, I feel influence coming from a good place for the good of a team. Manipulation more for self-gain than a team approach. I want to think about that for a little bit. Anur says, influence to have a positive impact on others. Manipulation is persuading people to do what you want. Thank you, Sade. I got it right. Actually, so this is the, obviously I couldn't spell manipulation. And this comes from someone I admire very much, which is Seth Godin. And he puts it like this. Influence is when you're trying to persuade someone to do something that they don't want. But if they knew what you knew and understood what you understood, they would agree with your approach. So it's coming from a good place, as some of the answers have said. Manipulation is if they knew what you knew and they could see what you are seeing. And so there's an element of deception or non-integrity, then, and if you feel that they would be angry, then that is manipulation. But both of them is, in essence, is you're trying to get someone to do something for you or for the company or for the team that they may not necessarily want to do in the first place. That's what they both are, influence and manipulation. And I love who is it? Sade said the difference is intention. So if the kids are not eating broccoli and I am trying to influence them to eat it, and if they could see my brain say broccoli is good for you, I don't think they would feel manipulated. The opposite is true if I was, I can't come up with an example. I think we've kind of like stayed on it for a bit. Now, next, right? Here are some examples of why organizations become political. I would love to hear some of your excuse me, some of your thoughts in the chat, right? So one, resources are declining. right? Budget cuts, headcount reductions. Nowadays, we can see a lot of that going in the tech world, and companies who are going through layoffs becomes a lot more difficult internally. You might have friends and colleagues that you have got along for a really long time, but when budget cuts are coming, roles that are going to disappear, behaviors are going to change. You are going to want to look out for yourself more. Opportunities which are limited, trust that is low, zero-sum thinking is a big one. This is where you see incentive structures. So those of you who have done like Sales Cloud implementation, those sort of projects, you will see things like commissions, how commissions are being counted. So just broadly, a lot of organizations do things slightly differently. But broadly, organizations that reward collective performance tend to have lower political environment than those that elevate individual achievements over group achievements. What that means is people will think, if you get that sale, I will lose out, as opposed to, let me help you get that sale because it's going to be good for the company and we're all going to be richer as a result. So that's very clear. Any of you who've done like sales kind of projects, and also high pressure environments, Enron example is a really good one. Thanks, Amy. You talk about fixed mindset. That is also very true. When you think that there's only one way of doing things, you're not open to how other people do things, and ego and power comes into play. Right. So let's have, I love that as well, Azim, leadership insecurity. And we can see that in the political world of countries. So I'm saying that, Azim, because we're both fellow Malaysians. Hi, Vanessa. Oh, yes. Dealing with women in tech who treat other women like it's Highlander. That is so true. That is so true. In environments where you feel threatened, you're likely to play the political game a lot more. So let's have a look at the definition of power. Now, if you Google, there are a lot, okay? But, there's like 8 definitions, but the most common one is 5. Let's go through what these 5 are. So there's also, power is the ability to influence another person. And they don't even have to exercise that power, just the threat, the potential that they can actually do something to your safety will already give them power, right? The potential of them reducing your security, and if you depend on them, let's say you depend on your job, you depend on your manager to make sure that you get that promotion or that raise that you really need, that gives them the power over you. Okay. The next word I want to talk about is authority. What does authority mean? Authority is the power to influence. Okay. Do you have the authority to exercise that power or not? Influence is the other word that we were talking about earlier on. And what it is a process of affecting thoughts, behaviors, and feelings of another person. So now let's have a look at what the power base or formal power base looks like. So I mentioned there are 5. This is the formal power base. That's coercive. If you don't do this, you're going to get the stick. You have reward, which is, if you do this, you will get the carrot. A legitimate power base is where you are assigned that power. So a CEO, for example. A parent could be one. And I think I am reasonably lucky in that a lot of my career, I towards the latter part, I've been a project manager. That gives me formal power base, especially with regards to project delivery. And I am mediating between, do we do declarative, or do we do code, or do we do this or that, or what should we do with this particular dilemma? I usually can have the final say because I have a legitimate power base. Next one, this is the personal power base. Okay, why would someone do something that you say? One is if they're an expert. So in many cultures, in environments, people who know what they're talking about, scientists, doctors, I know my technical architects, I know my stuff. If you don't do what I say, these bad things will happen. Okay, so you do what they say because they know what they're talking about. The second word, I don't like that word, but it's a word nonetheless. Referent. It's how much you like that person. You will do more for the person you like than for a person you don't like, and that is very it's very normal. Okay, and we talk about things such as charisma, and I don't think enough people give credit to those who have referent power, because a lot of times it's invisible. And I discussed this a lot in my little group called the Zen Club. When you're in a political environment, there's going to be a few people that isn't the obvious power broker, but because they're very quiet and they're very informal, and people do things because they like them. Now, I drew this little doodle because the people who connect the dots, the people who can see what's happening, the people who can see who's the one moving the levers, are usually those who are the most influential in the organization. And one way of identifying them is to get really, really good at social intelligence, at spotting nonverbal cues, and just watching and observing how energy can move within a room when you're doing workshops and things like that. So the most powerful people are those who know things and know people, because they have the knowledge, the expertise, and the wisdom or information that you don't have. And that is something that you need to keep in mind in any environment that you walk into. Right. The next thing I want to talk about, so it is a natural progression, is about stakeholder management. When you are implementing projects, you will always need to manage your stakeholders. As Salesforce partners, as consultants, when we get a new project, we rarely know what kind of environment we're walking into. We have to very quickly try and get the lay of the land and see, okay, who's pro, who's against. Okay, the one who's against, do they actually have power? Or the one who's pro really, really loves Salesforce, but actually, they can't influence very many things. Who are all the players in this chessboard, I would say, right? So talking about stakeholder management. So the first thing we need to do when we walk into a project is analyze and identify the different people on the chessboards. Where are they? Are they unaware? Don't know, don't care, what's the Salesforce? Doesn't affect me at all. Those who are resistant, right? Oh, we tried it before. It is not, don't like it at all. Those who are neutral, no feeling either way. Those who are supportive, and those who are champions. What we want to do, okay, my next slide doesn't look quite right, is to move people upwards, not to the right. move people outwards from neutral to supporting or leading. You want to, if they're resistant, make sure that those are people that won't make any, that doesn't have any influence on your projects. Now, the thing with stakeholders and human behavior in a personal and a professional capacity is that what we want to know is, what do they want, right? And if anyone has watched House of Cards or any of those power political games, those people who get ahead are those who know what you want and can find a way to give you what you want, right? So an example would be a project sponsor. What is it they want? They want a successful project, usually, not always. They want to realize benefits for their divisions. It could also be vanity or an ego thing. I think we talked about that in the earlier on. If they are brand new, and we often see that, you get a new sales director, the first thing they do is like, let's put in the system I have used before. Your sales numbers are really bad. When we put in Salesforce, we're going to double, triple our revenue, etc. So they want to make their mark, usually, right? So this is very broad brush. What is it they want? This is usually what they want. Now, for the end users and kind of like everyone else, they want their day-to-day work to be made easier. They don't want to lose their jobs or their status, and they do want to increase their circle of influence. That's usually kind of like their state of mind. And beyond basic security, everyone is concerned about status roles. Now, I like this definition very much because it means different things to different people. Some people's status role is based on how many accolades they have, or how many years they have in this company, or so many different things. But the key thing is to understand everyone has them, and what action is going to make their status role go up and what will make them go down. And you'll become more effective at the social intelligence game if you can suss out what someone's status role is for them and how to help them uplift that status role. Okay. Now, these are the three different spheres that create a resistance to change, a resistance to what you want to say or sell. It could be, this is a solution, we need to integrate using this is discovery that we've done, implementation will cost so much, and we are the one that you want to hire. Or it could be, you're a product owner and you think, oh, we should put in Agentforce for these reasons, and how to handle the resistance that come across. So these are the three spheres. It could be political. These are the things that they're worried about. It could be rational reasons, and it could be emotional reasons. And the key thing, as I said, is to identify what's important to them. Because once you've identified what's important to them, okay, there's another exercise that we're not quite talking about, is if you want them to do what you want them to do, how are you going to do that? And is that in line with your own values? Okay, so that's a topic to talk for another time. Okay, what we're going to talk about now is, once you understand your stakeholders, their status roles, what's important to them, what are they worried about, what are the strategies or tactics you can use to influence them? Okay, broadly, there are 9, just very broadly. So as I said, these are strategies that come from the organizational behavior and change textbook, for those of you who've done an MBA. Since then, there's a lot more. But I like the 9 that we have here. All right. Let's start. It's kind of known as the 3 R's, and it'll be grouped. I'll show you what the first one is. Retribution. So this is where, like, if you don't do what I want you to do, I will take revenge. Or coalition. So these are the negative one. We kind of like don't want to get into that. Reciprocity. These are like the more medium one. More people use it around legitimacy, exchange, personal appeal, ingratiation, different flavors of if you scratch my back, I scratch your back. If you do this for me, I'll make sure that good things come to you, and so on. And ones that we should strive to exercise are inspirational appeal, a consultation kind of approach, and rational persuasion. And no kidding. I'm completely honest. So my tool of choice is actually donuts, and that's the absolute truth. I get away with so much just on bribery alone. And again, it is about human behavior. It's donuts on the slides. It's about human behavior and understanding how when you connect with people, when things aren't stressy and flying around, you are usually more successful in influencing people. So just like really, I tell my kids and I tell a lot of people to be good finders. What that means is that this is how I see the world, right? We all have little bank deposit, invisible bank accounts with each one. You have one with, your the person you're interacting with, your parent, your children, whoever. And what you want to do is to build up that bank of goodwill when nothing bad is happening, so that when you want to draw a favor, your bank has goodwill in it, right? So this is my strategy, and I'm pretty lucky that I am born with, I'm pretty likable, and people let me bribe them. And I will say this, okay, I'm bringing you donuts because at some point in the future, I'm going to ask you to stay late to do extra UAT testing for me. So this is my bribe, and I'm really open with it. And they'll happily, oh, okay, let me stuff my face, and then when you need testing done, just ping me. So I'm really open with my influence strategy, and you can choose to steal that if you want to. You'll find it's pretty effective. So that's my go-to one. Right. Next, okay, I think we're about time. Are there any questions that I should be answering? Let me see.
I don't get the Highlander reference, so I guess that's something I need to watch.
Oh, I can't hear you. 1 second. Is it my audio?
Oh, the motto in Highlander is there can be only one. So that's what I meant by the Highlander reference. Like, that like they get threatened by another female being on the project, because a lot of these projects in tech, Salesforce or not, just tend to be very male dominated.
Yes, ma'am.
I can hear the amens out there. Let's see. Were there any questions?
I do like the question when someone asks, are donuts considered influence or manipulation? And my response, I think, honestly, is that it can be both.
Well, if you knew what I knew and you are happy accepting those donuts, I would call it influence. Right? If I'm offering you donuts and trying to mess up the diet plan that I knew you've been going on for, then you would probably not be too happy with me and you'd probably call it manipulation, I think. Okay, I can't see any questions. Right, okay. What that means is we're going to go into quiz mode time. And before we go there, hope you have got access to the Menti, all right? First, we're going to see how you grade yourself. Are you good at politics or not?
Is this wrong answers only again?
No. This is not the wrongest answer quiz. No, but it'd be great to see how where everyone is in the scale. Moving up there, it looks like there's somebody who 3 here. We've got 3 who say they're super influential, and
if those 3 would like to submit talks for our group, please fill out the form.
Yes, please.
Can use it.
It's quite good. It looks like a bell curve, a proper one. Yeah, donut influence. That should be my framework, huh? Okay. It looks like a good bell curve in the middle. Right. We're now going to exercise that. I think I've set it so that there's no time limit, but I'm going to set a time limit to 1 minute per question. Let's have a look. Right. Are you ready? Okay. I think I can do this. Right. So the time is here. Your exec sponsor signed off the project but hasn't shown up. 3 weeks in, you need budget decisions. What do you do? Let's have a look. A lot of people say, ask him what would make this matter to him. Say, I really need your help. Ooh, there's a lot more for C. Remind him of his commitment. That's a difficult conversation, but not sometimes that is needed. But does anyone have any more responses that are not all of the above? What's the first thing that you would do? Well, D with slight hints of B. Okay, so time is up, right? So it looks like ask him what would make this matter to him. And I think that, to be completely honest, my first question might be, what's going on? Have you, I'm thinking that in that 3 weeks, they would be getting emails and updates. And it's to find out what's going on and how to make it. If what he says is that there's a lot of things on his plate, then it's how can we make this project more important in his world? Right? No, I think Rohan's correct answer was not one of those options. Is asking what would make it matter to him is an important one, not that one, sorry. All right, so what's going on, and what they might, the answers might come out to be busy, could be I didn't see your email, and it's trying to find out how to make this a priority in his world, because to all of us, the thing that matters most to us will get the most attention, right? So you're right, Rohan. Actually, my first, I would have said, ask him what's going on first. Okay. Right. So show correct answer. That's incorrect. I wouldn't have started with A. Does anyone you've got 8 people who say send detailed ROI email. Do you think that this would be effective for someone who has signed off but hasn't shown up? Donella, did you mark on this one? It might have gone missing, right? The email after 3 weeks, according to Rohan, right? Maybe in 1 week, yes. I still don't know. I don't know if sending detailed ROI. Who reads emails that are really long anyway? Right?
I think I went with C for the specific reasons of trying to figure out what, to your end, right? You asked like, are you too busy? Da 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 da. Your executive sponsor, depending on your organization, may be that individual that is just very difficult to lock down. So then you would turn around and say, okay, do you have a proxy? This proxy will speak on your behalf. They would be more available to us to have these conversations if you are not available. Or if if you're comfortable, I will be your proxy and you're going to have to live with the outcomes because, again, your availability is limited. So if you put it forcefully like that, you can then have other outcomes.
You can. I'm loving that, though. That is using the influence tactics, right? But one thing that's missing is understanding what his definition of his status role is. So asking him to assign a proxy may hit his ego, right, and his power base. So it's understanding. Before, this is what I've learned. Before we actually take any action, we should find out what matters most to that person, so we don't take the wrong one. What you want to maximize is your ability to influence the person, and you can't if you don't know what's going to move him. Okay, right. Let's look at the next. C assumes it doesn't. You're right, Sade. So the answers wasn't that great. Could have been better, but I knocked this up using Claude. That is my excuse. Okay, so I'm going to overrule myself.
I'm going to overrule you really quick.
Go on. Yes.
I hate it when you diminish amazing things that you do. I think what's important here is the discussion that we're having. That is more, I think, there's not one single right answer. There's not a wrong answer that you can quickly strike off, right? It depends on the conditions. You're limited to what you wrote at the top of the prompt. So I think having the conversation which you're facilitating is the benefit of this. So don't diminish your contributions. I love you. Sorry.
Thank you, Anne. I was just saying that maybe I would have changed that to, ask what's going on. Would have been a more valuable question. So that I didn't have to so many responses on that. Right. So the next one. So you've got 15 customer service reps resisting Service Cloud. Oh, who else using Lotus Notes nowadays? It worked fine. They have low power, but they have a very high interest in the outcome. They are very vocal. What would you do? Ooh, it's a toss-up between B and C. Oh my goodness, who's going to win? Orange or blue? Paint a vision of better service, or ask to see their current process. Wow, it really is between these two. This is so interesting. Painting the picture could get emotional buy-in. Ooh, okay. Time's up. So paint picture of better service is winning out over ask to see the current process. I'm going to say, right, that this is my preferred answer. And when someone's complaining or someone is saying this is good or this is bad, again, I'm putting a little parenting thing in there. Whatever they are vocal about, from my point of view, because I am a crisis listener, I always begin with, tell me why you say what you said. So I would go with C first. And then when I'm painting the picture, painting the vision, I can pick out things that mean the most to them. So, Rohan, you're right. Yeah. So when you're designing systems, if you're doing business analysis, we always talk about as is and to be. You always begin the process with as is before to be, right? Let me see how you're doing things now. Let me keep the good bits, and let me identify opportunities for improvements in the next bit. Oh, we got to rush. Sorry. Next one. 8-year admin won't give you org access or info. And he reports to the VP who likes him. You suspect that there is technical debt. What would you do? Is this unanimous? Oh, I should put the timer. Actually, maybe I should close it before the timer. Forgot the donuts. A isn't the wrong answer, especially if you're an external contractor. You can't take work off his plate unless you're working with him within the organization and not a consultant. You can escalate to project sponsor, but there is a path, right? In my head, if you look at the influence strategy, I always start with the green one first, and then I'll move to the orange one. I never go to the red one, the coercion strategy. So the lowest hanging fruit actually is coffee and the donut, and just trying to build rapport first. So I'm just going to go with that. Right. I think I've got 2 more questions. Hopefully the leaderboard is keeping track of who got the correct ones. Your pilot team is complaining really loudly and other teams are watching. They have low power but massive influence. Your move. I think you picked 2 answers here. Pick 2 answers. Does it say so on your app?
Yes, it does.
Okay. I'm getting the feeling that most of you will probably get it right, which is just a finessing answer from previously. Oh, I don't have the timer. Ooh. Remind them that they're the best. I am very partial to flattery also, by the way. I've been known to bribe, to flatter, but I'm very open about it. That's why people let me do it and let me get away with things. So it looks like A and C are the answers of choice, and I would go with that. I also ask what are they upset about, and find a way to prioritize. Especially this is a pilot team. It's important for the pilot team to be successful because that actually creates a ripple effect. Okay, I'm going to go to, I think I've got another 2 more questions. Okay, this is gonna 2 more questions. No, last question. Okay. A powerful VP, not the sponsor, keeps adding requirements in meetings. While you're at it, please, can you add this and this and this? Project becomes undeliverable. What's your move? Oh, I don't have a pie on this one. I think this also you answer 2 answers. I should have time. Yes, it looks like a lot of you are on the right track, which is to show the timeline impact of additions. So even if they're not the finance sponsor, they will react to the fact that the timeline will be impacted. And usually when you say timeline impacted, there's money involved, right? So I would say it's between that and that. So show them the impact and say, well, we can have this in phase 2. And this one, again, is the next lever, because that's the job of a project sponsor, is to create the boundaries and make sure that it's being kind of like followed. You want to pick A, but it's very confrontational. You're right, Rohan. You can pick A if you know how to frame it in a gentle way. Okay. Right. I think that's time. Okay. I think the answer is that one and that one. Right. We're going to have a look at the leaderboard. I am 2 minutes late. Why is there no prize? Oh, I don't know what's happened here. I'm sorry. Vanessa, we're in trouble.
Should we do duck races really quick?
I don't know. Can you knock that up? Or
a duck race?
Yeah.
Always.
Okay.
I feel like the conversation was good regardless.
Oh, thank you.
I was gonna say, I think it's because when we logged into providing the results, we didn't get like one of those entity things. Normally they're like walking hot dog or whatever, and I just went straight into answers.
I wonder why. Sorry for the technical problems, people. Ooh, it looks like more are. There are fewer down this way. I'm loving the shape of the bell curve. Okay, so let me very quickly, as Vanessa's doing that, let me very quickly just go here. So to navigate, power and politics, you do need a lot of self-awareness and social intelligence. And I find a lot of people ask me this, and which is why I, have created what I've created. So I'm just going to share with you this personal skills. Now, these are one thing. Self-awareness is one of those things that if you don't have it, you are not coachable. Somebody asked me, what happens if a consultant doesn't think that they're wrong, doesn't think there's anything to fix? It's usually because they don't have any self-awareness. It is a process of asking, what am I doing here? What am I missing? Do I have debug mode on? Debug mode is identifying what you're thinking about, why you think a certain way. So that's why I'm just going to share. Okay, that's why I created this Zen Academy, and I built this Zen Club with Piyusha. I don't know if she's here today. So we deep dive into topics like power and politics, and she does the Agentforce, Slack, Marketing Cloud, all those topics. So anyway, this is where I drew a lot of this in the past. So I thought I'm just going to put it all here, right? This is where somebody can see where you can be improved, connecting the dots, as I said earlier on. This is where we are going into more detail when someone has issues with a project manager who's tough. We talk about it. We talk about many topics like quality. So this Friday, we're going to talk about UAT, how to get people on board and how to get a really, really boring UAT. We talk about AI.
But first, I want to thank Pei so much for doing the session, as always, and also a great way to kick off our sessions for the year. News, it's light today. If you guys want to speak about business analysis topics, I want to encourage you to do so. So these are the folks that are looking for speakers. You're architect dreaming. Don't be intimidated. A story, just real quick. I used to be super intimidated by architects because I was like, oh, I don't configure very much, or I don't do code. I went to TDX thinking I was going to be a moron. The people were going to treat me like I was super stupid. And that's when I realized partly, I mean, I'd always kind of known, but that was when I got validated the power of business analysis. And when I met all these architects that were like, oh, all I want is to work with a business analyst that knows what they're doing, that really values the type of work that a business analyst can do, because business analysts make me as an architect great. Don't be intimidated by going to architect conferences. They love us. Texas Dreamin', Buckeye Dreamin', Forcelandia, SoCal Dreamin'. I guess that's by me. If you want to hang out with me, or you want to co-speak, let me know. August 20th, Newport, and Northeast Dreamin'. Or those three folks that think that they're really awesome at influencing, here's your link. I would like to attend that session. I personally rated myself, I think, a 2.5. And I don't even know if I'm that good. Sadly, my charm does not work on everybody. Thank you. I am moving on to the unfiltered portion of our journey. Thank you, everybody on the YouTube side. And bye-bye to all of you on the YouTube side. I'm going to start right now.